From 1983 to 1991, over 8 years, Wuhan in Hubei province, China, witnessed dozens of serious gun-related murders, resulting in the deaths of 21 people and injuring more than 10 others. After forensic investigations, authorities discovered that all these cases were perpetrated by the same criminal gang. This became known as the Jiang Ming-Chao gun murder case, famously dubbed China's #1 case. However, one question remains. Who exactly was Jiang Ming-Chao? And why did he commit so many brutal crimes? As we know, criminals generally fall into 2 categories. 1. Those desperate for money. They either can't find legitimate ways to earn money or seek quick riches without hard work. This group comprises the majority of criminals. 2. Those driven by other motives, like revenge. For this type, the primary goal isn't financial gain but murder itself, often as a form of revenge against society. Jiang Ming-Chao belonged to this category. To understand why, we need to look back at his childhood. Jiang Ming-Chao, born in 1963, grew up in extreme poverty under harsh living conditions. He was the second of 5 children with 1 older sister, 1 younger brother and 2 younger sisters. The entire family relied on the meager income of their parents to survive. During the 3-year natural disaster in Hubei, Jiang's father secretly operated a small machinery workshop with others, hoping to earn enough to support his family. However, due to unpaid taxes and the use of smuggled goods, he was sentenced to 3 years in prison. While his father was imprisoned, the family had no source of income. They depended solely on Jiang's mother's modest earnings from a small local factory. However, with so many mouths to feed, her income was barely enough to sustain even herself, let alone a family of 6. Misfortune compounded their hardships. While the family was already struggling to survive, Jiang's mother fell seriously ill and urgently needed medical treatment. But for such a poverty-stricken family, finding enough to eat was already a daily battle. There was simply no money for medical care. Finally, when Jiang Ming-Chao was 10 years old, his mother, who had been ill for a long time, passed away. This plunged the family into an even deeper state of confusion and despair. However, around this time, Jiang's father was released from prison and secured a job at a factory, offering the family a glimmer of hope. But as the saying goes, a weak rope always breaks at its weakest point, and misfortune often befalls those already burdened with hardship. Not long after starting his job at the factory, Jiang's father accidentally damaged some equipment. In reality, several people had contributed to the equipment failure, but his father's friends at the factory suddenly blamed everything on him. Being a man of honor and loyalty, Jiang's father decided to take full responsibility. However, taking responsibility was not enough. He needed money to compensate for the damages. Jiang's father knew this but had no savings, so he agreed to repay the factory gradually. Tragically, before he could pay off the debt, he fell ill and passed away. While the debt should have been considered settled with his death, people at the factory continued to gossip, often speaking harshly about the incident. After his father's death, those same people would speak to Jiang about his father, praising him as a man of integrity and loyalty, seemingly portraying him in a positive light. Initially, these words comforted Jiang. He believed his father was a remarkable man, not only upright but also surrounded by good friends. However, it didn't take long for Jiang to discover the harsh truth. Those good friends were the very ones who had betrayed his father. They had reported him falsely, fabricating many untrue details to ensure he faced misfortune. The poverty and the cruelty of human nature left a deep emotional scar on young Jiang's fragile mind. As a child, he could only hide his pain, wipe away his tears, and carry on. After both parents passed away, the responsibility of supporting the family fell on Jiang's older sister. However, her meager monthly income was far from enough to cover the family's basic needs. In such dire circumstances, Jiang, as the oldest son, had no choice but to drop out of school and seek work to help support the family. However, finding a job wasn't easy either. He was too young and most places were unwilling to hire him. With no other options left, Zhang turned to his father's former workplace for help. Initially, the factory refused to employ him, and no one was willing to assist. After persistent efforts, including pleading multiple times, the factory manager finally agreed to let Zhang work as a temporary laborer. Being young and having no acquaintances at the factory, Zhang was often bullied and looked down upon. Just like in many workplaces, it was common for older employees to mistreat newcomers. Moreover, as a young boy, Zhang was in no position to stand up for himself. After enduring numerous hardships and injustices, Zhang experienced the coldness of human nature firsthand. The suffering didn't stop there. After his parents' deaths, the neighbors around him took advantage of the situation to seize anything they could from his family's possessions. They even frequently teamed up to bully the orphaned child who had no one to protect him. This environment gradually eroded Zhang's compassion for others and instilled in him a deep-seated desire for revenge against society. After enduring a series of shocks, he decided to eliminate anyone he perceived as an enemy. In the summer of 1980, Zhang, who was working at the factory, crafted 3 homemade guns using his tools. He modified conical screws to serve as bullets. Though rudimentary, these homemade firearms used gunpowder to fire metal projectiles. While they couldn't match modern firearms, their power was still formidable. To test the effectiveness of his homemade guns, Zhang fired at tree trunks. The results were satisfactory, but he wanted to see how they would perform against living beings. He began experimenting on animals, achieving promising results. With a weapon ready, Zhang focused on the next step of his plan, strengthening himself both physically and mentally and overcoming his fear of committing murder. On a late night in December 1983, Zhang rode his bicycle out in search of a target. During his search, he spotted a middle-aged man. Without saying a word, he shot the man in the back of the head, killing him instantly. However, being his first murder, Zhang was nervous and unsure about the full power of his homemade gun. Determined to test it again, he continued his spree. Between February 1984 and August 1988, Zhang carried his homemade gun on 5 different occasions, targeting random passers-by. He shot 3 innocent people in the head, killing them instantly. Additionally, he shot 4 others in the head, face, and neck, leaving 3 severely injured and 1 with minor injuries. After this series of incidents, Zhang grew bolder. He felt he had conquered his inner fear and gained a clear understanding of his weapon's capabilities. However, he realized that to execute his plan of eliminating all his perceived enemies, this approach alone wouldn't suffice. He needed money. As he put it, without money you can't accomplish big things. Thus, on an early morning in June 1987, Zhang broke into a local grocery store on Hanzheng Street. He used an iron skewer to fatally stab the store attendant and stole over 600 yuan, approximately $100. This amount of money in 1987 was considerable. However, after realizing how easy it was to obtain money, Zhang decided to continue committing crimes to amass even more wealth. Knowing that he had already committed numerous crimes in recent years and was under intense police surveillance, he temporarily avoided violent acts and focused on thefts to elude law enforcement. Thus began a series of thefts. Zhang enlisted an accomplice and infiltrated several locations, including the tobacco company, the finance department of the Zhurichang Hong Wuhan factory, and the finance office of the Wuhan United Packaging Printing Company. They stole thousands of yuan, tens of thousands of treasury bonds, and a significant stockpile of valuable cigarettes. With financial worries behind him, Zhang recognized another issue. While his homemade gun was powerful, it was cumbersome to reload and inconvenient to use. He decided that acquiring a police-standard handgun would be ideal. Driven by this idea, between December 10th, 1989 and January 9th, 1990, Zhang successfully stole 2 Type 54 handguns, 1 Type 64 pistol, more than 160 rounds of ammunition, 4 police electric batons, and over 12,200 yuan in cash from various police stations. With money and weapons secured, Zhang was ready to execute his elimination plan. However, before carrying out his final mission, he once again tested his stolen guns in a brutal manner. On a December morning in 1989, Zhang used one of the stolen pistols to shoot a worker at the Xinhua printing factory in Hubei province. The worker, unaware of what was happening, was fatally shot in the back, the bullet piercing through his chest. Zhang then targeted a street vendor who also died instantly. This experience reinforced Zhang's confidence in the power of the handguns. Emboldened, he began a spree of robberies under the pretext of financing his grand plan to eliminate his enemies. In mid-April 1990, Zhang targeted 2 individuals leaving a bank. He shot and killed them, seizing a briefcase full of cash. Shortly thereafter, he murdered 2 brothers from the same family, stealing another suitcase filled with money. Through these 2 incidents, Zhang amassed over 9,500 yuan, equivalent to around $1,300, a substantial sum at the time. After years of committing crimes, Zhang had honed his psychological resilience and developed ruthless tactics. He understood, however, that to realize his great plan, he needed a team of like-minded individuals. Zhang approached Song Jianlian, a former colleague. Song was unemployed, having been dismissed from the factory for his poor work ethic. He relied heavily on his wife for financial support, and with their first child on the way, they were in desperate need of money. Seizing this opportunity, Zhang provoked Song's pride, saying, "Relying on your wife to support you. That's hardly manly. Join me, and money will be the least of your worries." Tapping into Song's wounded pride, Zhang quickly convinced him to join the scheme. Next, Zhang approached his former elementary school classmate, Xiong Zongbi. Struggling with business failures and deep in despair, Xiong was an easy target. Zhang promised, "Being broke isn't a problem. I know a shortcut. Follow me and the money will flow like water." Desperate and at a dead end, Xiong agreed. He even introduced Zhang to another associate, Peng Yi. With accomplices in place, Zhang quickly transformed his rented residence in Hankou into the group's meeting room. To make their criminal activities more professional, he established strict, disciplinary rules. Zhang meticulously assigned roles within their plan, detailing each person's responsibilities and outlining every step of their operations. Under Zhang's orchestration, several stores in areas like Yangtze Street and Hanzheng Street fell victim to their robberies. They stole valuables, including gold and silver jewelry, worth over 100,000 yuan, about $13,000. This string of crimes left local shop owners terrified. On the early morning of Lunar New Year's Day in 1991, Zhang went for a stroll, eventually arriving at the Wuhan rubber factory in Saijiadian Hankou. At that time, 4 security guards on duty were lighting fireworks to celebrate the new year. Initially, it was just a routine celebration, but Zhang provocatively claimed that a firework had hit him. He then started cursing at the guards. The guards, unwilling to back down, responded to Chow's insults, leading to an altercation. Outnumbered, Zhang fled the scene but left a chilling threat: "Just you wait." True to his word, around 3 a.m. that same day, Zhang returned armed with a Type 64 pistol, ropes, and other tools. He climbed over the wall and entered the security room, brutally killing all 4 guards. Realizing the gravity of his crime, Zhang decided to lay low for a while, waiting for the situation to calm down. For over half a year, he remained inactive, but soon enough, he resumed hunting for prey. One night, in November 1991, Zhang shot and killed a man named Liu Danfu in the Sujiafang area of Wuchang. Liu and a friend were returning home with money from selling cigarettes when Zhang targeted them. The gunfire quickly drew the attention of nearby villagers, who began chasing after Zhang. During the pursuit, One villager recognized the shooter as Zhang Mingchao. As Zhang barely escaped back to his home, 12 police officers stormed in and pinned him to the ground. Following Zhang's confession, the police swiftly arrested his 3 accomplices, Song Jianlian, Xiong Zongbi, and Peng Yi, that same night. Thus, the 8-year-long killing spree of Zhang Mingchao finally came to an end. According to official statistics, over 8 years, Zhang had taken the lives of 21 people, with countless others injured. The Chinese authorities declared that his cruelty and brutality were unprecedented. For his heinous crimes, Zhang Mingchao was sentenced to death and executed immediately. His 3 accomplices received sentences ranging from suspended death sentences to life imprisonment and 17 years in prison. What do you think about today's case? Please leave your comments below so we can discuss it together. Don't forget to support us with a like and subscribe to the channel to motivate our team to bring more dramatic cases. And that concludes today's case. Thank you, dear viewers, for watching. Goodbye, and see you next time.